business leaders and surgeons and barristers. I see women who are going to win elections and science competitions and arts awards.
Do not be afraid to fail.
We can
Happy Tiff Talk Sunday. Welcome to our community. I am so excited for today. This is the last Sunday of the month of April. The year is going by so fast, but we'll talk about that on a different note. But being the last Sunday of this month, the month of April, in honor of Financial Literacy Month and Stress Awareness Month, both of which oftentimes go hand in hand, we are wrapping up our mini series in regards to health, wellness, and wholeness. And this is episode 4 of 4. And I will say, like, this series itself has been very rewarding for me. All of our top guests being able to just engage and give insight about the different topics we've addressed. I mean, we've discussed everything from generational burdens to moving money to finding balance. And today, another pain point for some, but one that we are all going to have to cross the paths with at some point. We are going to be talking about riches versus wealth. And I'm excited to get in the conversation for today because I anticipate it's going to be a very informative, rewarding conversation. And our top guest is awesome, and she's going to definitely bring it for us today. So for those of you that are new to this platform, my name is Tiffany. I am a licensed clinical social worker by trade and a community activist at heart. And this platform was created as an opportunity, an outlet actually, to connect with the community and to discuss taboo topics that are impacting Black and Brown communities. And we discuss topics as if I just discussed and shared with you guys. So I'm ready to get into the discussion. We stand on 4 pillars. One being media, which you're tuning into now, outreach, empowerment, and engagement. And you are part of the engagement. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. And I will hand it over to our top guest to introduce herself.
Hi. First of all, thank you for having me, Tiff. I really appreciate having this. And I'm so honored to be on your platform because you know I love you. Okay. So thank you for that, first of all. My name is Cherrelle D Davis. I am from Bryan, Texas, but I am also living in Houston. Been in Houston for a couple of years. I would call myself anything estate planning, baby, I got you, okay? Anything with that, I got you. So I have been a licensed life insurance broker for some years now. And that's what I do.
Yes. So she shortchanged herself a little bit on her introductions, but we're going to get into that because I'm going to pull it out of her. So just this conversation of wealth and riches and one versus the other is a heavy topic in our community. Because you always hear people when it comes down to transition or end of life, you know, this conversation of you can't take it with you, so you got to spend it while you got it. But you also, on the other hand, see, and I mean, I have observed people having experienced financial trauma. Oftentimes in their childhood and their relationship with money early on being something that really caused a lot of, you know, pain points where they do not have a good relationship with money. And I think it's because people just aren't clear about the indicators as it relates to wealth versus riches or riches versus wealth. And my personal experience, I think I was fortunate enough to have parents that were like financially competent. And I believe they did their best in sharing that information with me. They shortchanged me a little bit on the credit, but we were able to overcome that in life. But like financial well-being, the basics of savings and, you know, checking and paying bills and investments to a certain extent, they gave that to me. Not everybody has that. So my first question for you is, what are the indicators of riches versus wealth as you see it?
Well, to me, riches would indicate someone who has money readily available. You may have large sums of money in your pocket, in your bank account, however that works. That's an indication of riches. And actually, if you make about $45,000 a month, you are considered rich, right? Wealth, on the other hand, to me, is how are you planting those seeds of money throughout your life? Are you making your money work for you? Because it's easy to take $15,000 and blow it away. But it's another thing to take $15,000 and know I'm going to invest it so that I can make more money off of that. So wealth to me is those seed planting and, properties, any stocks that you may have, anything like that. That's wealth to me.
So that's, as you were talking, you was like, in the bank in your pocket, I was thinking about, how grandma and grandpa had the money inside of their mattress, or that, jar that was buried in the backyard. So for me, when it comes down to riches, I feel like it's oftentimes viewed as something that's tangible, something that you can touch, and like you say, something that you can spend very easily. But the riches is not anything that you can take with you. Or even if you leave riches to someone, or if you leave a lump sum of money to someone, who's to say that they're going to expound upon those riches or do good deeds or good work with riches as well? So, I think I know the answer to my next question, but it's always, for me, good to get the perspective of other people. And I think for me, I feel in where I gear my life, my family, my finances that I share with my husband is all toward wealth. Something that you, like you said, you can grow, something that you can pass along in generations. And that looks very differently and doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. But when we talk about the indicators and we talk about one versus the other, ideally speaking, and I think I know the answer, but I definitely want to get your perspective. Which do you feel holds the greatest value, riches or wealth?
Okay, well, it's going to be wealth, in my opinion. And that's because, it's great to have that money readily available, but it's also another thing to teach your children. Hey, these are the things that I have put in place so that when we come to year 20 down the line, we're not coming back saying, oh, well, at one point in time, my mama had $100,000, but she blew it. So I would say, in my opinion, it's wealth. Wealth definitely has greater value.
And, when it comes down to wealth, and I know we spoke about this briefly in the previous episode with Larry and like moving the lamppost. I think the taboo oftentimes where people get stuck when it comes to wealth is that everyone starts from the same place with wealth, number one. And number two, that we have no wealth because we don't have the millions of dollars, because we don't have, the accessible income, we have no wealth. I remember when we were doing my mom's estate planning, I had to explain to her, like, Mama, your house that's an asset as well. Like you're going to want to make plans, arrangements for these things. And like your car, your vehicle, I'm trying to tell you, this cast iron that Mama got in the house, that is wealth for me. I'm looking forward to inheriting that cast iron. But I think where we fall short as a community is that we don't really understand what wealth is and the indicators of wealth. So we shortchange ourselves in thinking that we don't have it. So we don't do the estate planning, or we don't, seize the opportunity to move the lamppost, like Larry said. And I just think if we got like the true understanding of what value that we have and hold, then we will be at a better place.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I remember this social experiment that was done, and I think probably in the last year I've seen it done in 3 different ways, even on TV, where it's like everyone stands in this line and they ask these series of questions. And for me, this social experiment is probably the best indicator of the lamppost and how you move the lamppost. So we'll ask questions like, did you grow up in a 2-parent household? Did you go to college? Do you have a relationship with your grandparents? Like very general questions. And if you answer yes to the question, then you would move forward. If you answer no, then you will move back. And so often in our community, we constantly are moving back, that when we see how far ahead the next person is, then I feel that we get fearful of what we have at our own disposal. So when we talk about wealth, for me, like you said, it's about adding value, it's about growing money. But in that, how does one ensure that they're moving the lamppost for the next generation as it relates to wealth?
So, in my opinion, okay, and it may be because I do this every single day, we have to make sure that we have systems in place. We also have to make sure that we are taking care of what we have to today to make sure that it's left to our children first, right? Secondly, we have to have open conversations, like, the conversation you had with mom. We have to be able to have those hard conversations about what situation are we leaving our family in? Okay, and that's a question that I ask a lot of my clients. Okay, but that's one of the ways that we're going to do that. We need to have those conversations, and we also have to put systems in place, like I said, to ensure that we keep this going. There are a lot of things that we can do today to set our families up for success that in our community either we don't know about, we don't have access to, or we believe that we don't deserve it. And that's just point blank, period.
Wow.
I was told by a young man that he thinks that it's rooted in self-hate. That, when I go visit people and, a wife, for example, she's like, oh, I just need a couple of $1,000s in life insurance. I'm not trying to get rich off of his passing. Why do you feel like that? Why do you feel like, you having something to keep you comfortable for the years coming? Why do you feel like you're benefiting from his passing? It was going to happen anyway. It's going to happen to all of us.
Right.
What's wrong with your husband saying, I want to make sure that if anything was to happen to me, I want you to be comfortable for the rest of your life?
Yeah. And
we only see that in our community.
Wow.
In our community. Okay. Same thing with our children. Having a life insurance policy on your child is much more than getting a benefit if something was to happen to your child. You're literally setting them up for success in the future. But people in our community, we don't see that.
Wow.
And we have knowledge of it. So we don't know that we can literally utilize that to create wealth and give our kids a head start.
Wow. That is so crazy. I don't think I ever equated it to like self-hatred, but the way that you just describe it, it is like, is there something there? Do we not feel that we're worthy of that? And like you said, like, it's not about a leg up. It's not, with ill intent or ill will. It's, hey, if something was to happen to me, then I want to make sure that my loved ones have the opportunity to grieve, because I don't think we oftentimes have the opportunity to grieve. And having the opportunity to grieve, they don't have to worry about bills. They don't have to worry about, returning back to work too soon or having to deal with any estate that is not accounted for. They don't have to go to court and fight about what's going on and who doing this and who doing that. So I never, like I said, equated it to self-hate until you just, explained it to me like that. I truly, truly, truly believe that it's all about the knowledge and insight, because that's where we as a community, I feel, fall short. there are various kind of services and, you know, assistance in place, but it's always about, are you aware that that's available? Are you receptive to it? Are you knowledgeable of it? And also, do you have access to it? You know, I think one thing that I love about your service is that you go to people. Like if I'm calling you and I make an appointment, whether it's okay, let's get on a Zoom call, or let's, you know, meet up here and do, I feel like that goes a long way, because when people think about conversations about end of life or estate planning, maybe they feel like they got to go into this big stuffy office and have this conversation where they're on the other side of this big wooden desk or this conference room table, and it becomes intimidating. So being able to make sure that these things are accessible is what's very much so important to me, but also that there's the knowledge, the insight, and the awareness that is available, and that you're worthy of it. You know, I like that.
And like you beg up, like, what is wrong? There's nothing wrong with saying, well, you know, if I'm not gonna be here anyway, you guys enjoy. Like, I want to set my kids up, I want to set my grandbabies up. Let's do it. You know, it's just something within our community, like you said, they just don't feel like they deserve it, or you're gonna be shamed for having that.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, well, that's the first thing they say. Well, if it wasn't for their life insurance policy, they wouldn't have that.
Wow.
Well, could have not had anything at all. And nobody would have said a word. You know, we could have been left in financial ruins and nobody said a word. So I don't care. As a wife, husband, whoever, listen, set your husband up for success. That's it.
That is horrible, because I'm thinking, like, if there wasn't a life insurance policy, if there wasn't estate planning, and they're left, like you said, in ruins, then that's when you see the t-shirts with the, like you said, the fish plates.
The t-shirts are gonna be made before you put it in the ground. The t-shirts are gonna be made before you are put in the casket. You hear me? The t-shirts are gonna be done.
I mean, but when you think about that, that's crazy, because then you get into like, oh, that's when we are out GoFunding me, and we have to bury you 2-3 weeks later because we got to raise the money and everybody got to come together, or we bury you and still have a debt from your burial. So that's crazy. So I do know, and I do believe, like I said, that we have a lack in the awareness of when it comes to wealth and what that looks like and what it means. And oftentimes, because it's not a dollar sign or a cent attached to it, we don't necessarily make note of the non-monetary. So before we get into like the monetary, I want us to take some time to look at the non-monetary. So my question is, what would you consider to be non-monetary wealth management?
Again, I would just go back to passing on the knowledge of money management, passing on, you know, the knowledge of how we can utilize our credit, how you can leverage your credit. You know, those things, you may not have any monetary value to you now, but in the future, having that can also help your family, yourself, create wealth for you at any level. You could be broke as a joke right now, but you get your credit together, you learn to leverage it, you can, again, create wealth just like that.
Yeah.
So passing on knowledge.
It is definitely all about leverage for me. At this state in my life, in my 30s, it is all about leverage. And leverage for me is assets, knowledge, accessibility, resources, and being able to leverage those things to grow and to add value and to build on more. I think when it comes down to wealth management, I always refer, as it relates to non-monetary, is to Steve Harvey, because with all his riches or wealth, whichever you want to refer to it, he has said very clearly more than once that his intent is not to leave this large sum of money to his children or this large sum of money to his estate. He's like, I've made this money. I'm going to live my life to the fullest. I'm going to enjoy it and enjoy my money. And instead of me leaving this large sum of money to, set you up, I'm going to give you the knowledge. I'm going to give you the wisdom. I'm going to teach you how to make your own money. And if I really think about it, all of his children, even his children with that he co-parents with his wife, they are all in some move way making and growing their own money, because they learn or they know mom and daddy they gonna get theirs. I gotta get mine. Whether it's taught or forced, I gotta get mine. And that's a way for them to pass on to the next generation what they have and what is non-monetary that they can grow and continue to grow after their own body and being.
Exactly.
So the game-changing question for this talk time, because I learned so very much in getting my own affairs in order. I think it's important that our talk community get that information and have that information available, because I truly believe that it changes lives. So my game changing question is, when we talk about the simple things like Commonwealth management, how simplistic truly is it to build a portfolio of assets based off of having established life insurance?
Woo. It's so many different ways of doing this. Okay. I guess I can start with having one period. Having something in place. All right. Even if you're one of those people I don't want to leave $1 million, I don't want to do that. Okay. But not having one in place can send your family into financial ruin quicker than what people actually think. Okay. If you're in a two-parent household, for example, that's one of the examples from moving the goalposts. Yeah, you may be doing good right now, but if someone passes away and now we got to come off money to do that, now we have to come off of money to maybe pay for a home that we just bought. Okay. We handle it on 2 incomes, but now we down to 1. Yes. Okay. We also have to think about the fact that if you're in a 2-parent household and one is, not working, what if you don't have 2 incomes? But now you got to find somebody to take care of these kids, right? And that's an additional bill that we have on top of that. And childcare is not cheap. Okay. Those long hours that you were able to work overtime and extra, you can't do anymore. You got kids to take care of now. You don't have that help. You know what I'm saying? So yes, you can send your family into financial ruins by just not having anything in place. And I always tell people, while you're living, you have the opportunity to make payments. Your family on the other side, when they get to that table, there is no payment. The funeral home wants their money by Thursday, most of the case, and most times, right? They don't have the option of making payments to the funeral home. All right. So that's one of the ways we can do that, by having one period. The second, the most simple way to create wealth for your family or riches, let's say riches, riches is a term life insurance policy. And that's because you're going to get a larger amount of money for less money monthly, for less payment. So you can easily get $1 million policy for maybe $50, $60, $70 a month. And that'll immediately create wealth if something was to happen to you within that specific term period. Okay. Now, I do suggest, if you're going to get one, to get it 30 years max, because you want to make sure that it's long term, and you want to get it while you're young, because the younger and healthier you are, the cheaper your life insurance is going to be monthly, and then the more that you will get in coverage. Okay. Another way is whole life insurance. Whole life insurance is going to last you for the rest of your life. Okay. As long as the payments are made monthly, it's going to last you for the rest of your life. But it has a value in it that you can use while you're living. It's called cash value. Okay. That's money that you can take out to do whatever you choose to do with, but you want to let it grow. You want to let it grow over time. Okay. So let's just say, 5, 6 years down the line, you decide, I want to, like you said, I need a down payment on my house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take $4,000 out of my life insurance policy.
Yeah.
That's your money. That's what you can do. Nobody's going to ask you any questions. They're not going to, Tiffany, what's your credit score before we give you this $4,000?
Wow.
They're not going to do that. Okay. So that's another way that we can utilize the cash value in it. You also have what's called an IUL policy, an index universal life policy. And you can put money, your own money, into an IUL or your whole life insurance policy if you choose. But I'm just using IUL, for example. And you put it into your IUL policy, and your own personal money that you put into it will grow over time and likely at a return higher than you would put it into a traditional savings account or just leaving it in your bank account and it's not working for you at all.
Wow.
Okay. So you can utilize that to grow your wealth. Also, people use it as a tax vehicle because you can take it out. It's not taxed. You pay yourself back over time. Okay. That is one of the common misconceptions that are out there right now when it comes to an IUL policy. Everybody believes that they can just get this life insurance policy today and tomorrow take out $10,000. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You want to put money into it, yes. However, you want your money to grow. So you can't just take it right back out. It's not going to grow. Give it time to grow. Give it time to mature. And then, do whatever you choose to do with it. That's just a simple answer of how we can do it when we come to our children. I always tell everybody to max your children out in a child whole life policy. Okay. Most of them are going to be about $50,000 at max. Okay. Most of them. You do have other ones that will go a little higher, but $50,000 is a good amount. And I say that because it's a whole life policy. It's going to grow in cash value. What most think of is Gerber. And names, girl. Anyway, everybody knows about the grow up plan. Okay. And they push it like college. You can say that the money can be used for college, the college grow up plan. That money can be used for anything that you choose. Okay. Like I said, both of my children both have entrepreneur mindsets. So, hey, listen, if you want to go ahead and start your business, you got $5,000 or $6,000 in your child whole life policy to do that. Yeah. So that's one of the ways that we can get our kids ahead is by doing it. And nobody's gonna ask them any questions. It's their money. You do what you want with it.
I love that. So I gotta get what was the I one?
The IUL.
I gotta get the IUL because I got my whole life. I got my whole life. Yes. I insured everybody in my house. So I got that, but I need the other one because I'm all about growing my money, and I don't have a problem with letting it sit and pay into. I don't have a problem with it. I just want, like you said, if I need an expense or if I have an expense that comes about, even if there's ever a period of time where I or my husband become permanently disabled, that I'm able to tap into something and have some resources where it's not just me having to pay for and move the post by myself, move the land post by myself. So that's awesome. I hope y'all pick those up because it was a whole bunch of them. You go ahead and rewind it back and get your notes. So yes, definitely.
But even with that you just said, Tiff, is if something was to happen within your marriage where somebody falls ill, right? Most whole life insurance policies and IUL policies have what's called critical illness, critical care, okay, terminal illness, terminal care. anything that happens to you, that if a doctor says that you are terminal, if a doctor says that you require critical care at this point, access to the money that is in your life insurance policy early. So that means you don't have to pass away to access your policy. So that's why in our community, we really need to start looking at getting larger amounts in our life insurance policies. So $100,000, right? For example, if we had $100,000 life insurance policy and our husband decided he gonna fall ill, right? Terminally ill, we have access to that $100,000.
Wow.
While they're living, okay? Terminal illness, let's think about cancer, for example.
Yeah.
The medications alone will send you into debt.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Big facts.
Yeah, and we have access to that money, but so many times we're just like, oh, I just need $20,000.
Yeah.
No, let's set our family up for success.
Yeah.
Let's do it, you know. So I'm glad that you said that, because that's another asset or another part of life insurance that a lot of people don't even know that they have access to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole gem right there. I hope y'all go back and pick it up, because it was that good. So what I hear you saying, and immediately what's clicking to me, is that it's more costly to not have than to have.
Very much so. Very much so. Life insurance is much, much, much more affordable while you are young and healthy. And when I say young, I mean 65 and under. It's affordable at 60, 65. You know, so yeah, absolutely.
And I think when it comes down to our community, the Black and Brown communities, we have to continue to have these conversations in order to move the lampposts. And as we're talking, I'm like, yeah, this is warranted. This is needed. And this is, you know, we pride ourselves on being conversation starters. So being able to continue this conversation forthcoming. So we've talked about riches versus wealth, the value or greater value one over the other. We've talked about how to continue to move the lamppost, and even how something as simple as having a life insurance policy will allow that to happen. And my question that kind of wraps up our conversation, and I asked this question to our previous guests as well, because I think it's important that we understand that just as we set goals in life, just as we have a targeted agenda or a motive for life, we need to have that for our finances, because there's no true way that we can move the lamppost, become aware, have the insight, have the knowledge, or even pass that down if we don't have goals that we're passing down. So my question is, what are 3 simple goals that will add value to generational wealth?
3 simple goals. Wow. 1, again, have these hard conversations. Please have these hard conversations. And it's not so hard. It's just, you know, nobody really wants to think about it. Nobody wants to think about passing away. Nobody wants to think about what's going to happen to me if something happens to my loved one. Nobody wants to think about that, but it's going to happen. I'm sorry to say it's going to happen. It's going to happen to all of us. Let's make sure that we are taking that time to have these conversations. 2, making sure that we are planning while we're here, making sure that we are voicing and documenting our wishes, making sure that we are taking care of what matters to us and what can benefit our family in the future, i.e. setting up trust, setting up wills, making sure that everybody knows where everything is, having documents readily accessible to the people that are going to be taking care of these things. So yeah, making sure that your things are in order now. And 3, making sure that we instill these things in our children, making sure that we, you know, have open conversations all the time. You know, yeah, it's not fun talking about finances and all this other stuff, but it makes a difference. So.
Right. I love what you just said about documenting. Documents, accessible documents, because as a social worker, that is like the first thing that I learned about my profession and my career, is that if it's not documented, it didn't happen.
Exactly.
And oftentimes I know, when our time comes, we just believe that our family is going to do right and abide by our wishes. But I think death will bring out, or can bring out, the best and worst in people. Like, you never know who's going to act the fool. You never know who's going to like step up and accept and, assume that role of what, needs to happen to, make sure that my wishes are planned out. So having something in writing, having something documented, is what at least you can say that I've done my part in my living to make sure that in my passing, I'm not, adding any extra stress, or I'm not, I'm making sure that my wishes are at least accessible to people. One thing that you said earlier that I think a goal of mine has been, and that's something that I probably didn't put a word to it until you were just talking, is having systems in place. Having those systems in place are so very important, because with having those systems in place, it gives a blueprint of what the need is, how to address the need, what the problem, we know there's going to be a problem, but how to resolve the problem. Like, I think having those systems in place is what will allow for the next generation. And I'm not just talking about the next generation outside of our home, I'm talking about in my own house. My next generation, my children, my children's children, to know, like, this is how we as a family will move. I think for me, like, my thing has always been like, I want to be the grandmother. I want to be the matriarch over the fireplace. I want my picture up there. And I want, my grandchildren and my great grandchildren to, be able to look at this picture and say, this is why we are where we are, And I wanted to come with good feelings. I wanted to come with good things, I'm not saying they're gonna be living in a mansion. I'm not saying it's gonna be this well-to-do of riches and fame. But I want them to be able to look at me over the mantle and say, this is why we are the way that we are, and this is why we do what we do, and we were fortunate to have this person or to be a part of this bloodline, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And I mean, what you just said is, they may not be able to live X, Y, and Z, but they actually may be able to do that if systems are put in place now. For example, we've talked about it several times, the establishing a trust for your family can go well past who's in your household right now. Establishing a trust can set your family up for being their own bank. People don't know, but you can do that via life insurance. Do that, via having documents, making sure that any properties that we have are placed into a trust, making sure that all of that is done now.
Okay, so just expect my phone call next week so I can set up an appointment, so I can get my account, and so I can get my trust together, because I want to make sure that I have my systems in place and I am walking in my truth and the knowledge that you're sharing with us today. So as we kind of wrap up for the final question and for the truly feel good moment, because people, that are tuning in live, that will watch the playback, like they'll, get and listen to all this information that we're sharing with them. But we want to make sure that we highlight and give a testament of what we want them to hold on to, continue the conversation about, and then carry to the next. So what would you say is your testament for this conversation that we've had today?
Lord Jesus. I would say that if you don't listen to anything else that I have said or Tiffany have said, please make sure that you have something in place so that we don't have to have this conversation, so that you don't leave your family in a financial hardship. Okay, period. Make sure we have something in place, even if, like I said, it is $25,000 in a life insurance policy. Please make sure we have that together. secondly, don't hesitate to reach out to Tiffany or myself. I have conversations with people all day long. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. If you have any questions, if you just, hey, Cherrelle, this is the situation, I'm so open for it. I have nothing but time, and I love spreading the knowledge because I love setting our people up for success. I love setting my babies up for success. Okay. If there's something you don't really understand, hit me up. I got you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that your passion for this is something that you've lived yourself and that has grown out of your own experience, and having really just zoned into this population or this gap that we are, experiencing in life and in our community, and bringing awareness to those things. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have the awareness, if we aren't able to say, oh, Cherrelle, she says she can cover me, let me reach out to her if I have a question or a concern. That has been my fun, love for you and the service that you provide. And my biggest takeaway for today is to have those systems in place. To have those systems in place so that you will leave a blueprint so that your family will be able to see beyond whatever monetary value that you have or what you've left to them. But they also have the knowledge, they also have the assets, they also have, the wealth to grow. So I think my takeaway biggest is to be able to not just focus on growing your riches, but growing your wealth and finding ways to make sure that you move the lamppost with both. All right. Yes, this was so good. I knew it was gonna come. I felt it. I felt it that you was gonna bring it and you was gonna make my heart smile. So I
all over the place. I was like, really?
You have done an awesome job, and I really appreciate you just sharing your knowledge and your time with us, because of course that is the greatest commodity that we have is time. It's the only thing in life that we can spend and not get back. So I appreciate you sharing your time and your wealth of knowledge with us today. I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find you. So go ahead and drop your social media handlers so everybody can find you and that they can have access to you when they need you.
Okay, well, Serial Strategy Financial is one of the places you can find me. Serial as in serial number, strategy, financial. You can also book an appointment with me at www.covermecherrelle, CHERRELLE.net. And that gives you an immediate booking link with me so that we can have a sit down talk.
Yes.
So call or text me anytime. 832-323-3087.
And make sure you also drop your Instagram, because my I follow people on Instagram. So make sure you drop your Instagram so they can have that too.
Cherrelle.
All right. So I have a couple of announcements to share with you guys, because we have been busy. It has been busy here over at the Talk Community headquarters. And of course, you guys are aware that we released an all-new installment of Community Empower on Tuesday entitled Vision for the Culture, and it has been focused and centered around paying homage to the Black and Brown communities here in the Houston area and those landmarks. So we took our power photo shoot to 3rd Ward and 5th Ward. And when I tell you, the photography is awesome, it is awesome. And the articles mirror just the same. So definitely want to let you guys know that printed copies are available. You can reach out to me on our link bio, which is on the IG page that I'll give you in just a minute, to purchase that for your own self-being. Then we also have our minority mental health awareness symposium that is scheduled for July 8th. This will be a symposium and a resource and wellness fair. And yours truly, our talk guest, will be there and be present. So you can see her and meet her in person. If you have not already followed her and gone online to book your appointment with her. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We have many more vendors that are going to be a part of that we're going to be releasing really soon, but save the date for July the 8th. That is a Saturday. Also, we'll have our Visionary Retreat interest meeting that's coming up. It's going to be the first Saturday in May. And you can reach out to me or Kinshay to get the information so that you can be a part of that. You can email us at visionary@jjaykcmarketing.org as well. And also, as always, make sure that you follow us. Follow us here on our YouTube channel. This is where all of our media is pretty much housed. So all of the podcast episodes are housed here. You can go back and watch again and again and again because we like the views, and we encourage you to subscribe and also set your notifications so that you'll know anytime a new episode is available. So JAYKC Podcast is our YouTube, and then also on Instagram at JJAYKC Marketing is our Instagram page. So follow us, like, subscribe, and stay in the know. And outside of that, I appreciate you all for giving us your greatest commodity time this Sunday evening. And as always, keep talking. Have a good evening, everybody.